Russian President Vladimir Putin is in China for meetings with China's President Xi Jinping just days after President Trump wrapped up his visit to the country.
The leaders held those talks focusing on energy, trade, and technology. More than 20 agreements were signed after both men praised their close ties. Later today, they're going to sit down over tea to discuss geopolitical matters like Ukraine, Iran, and the U.S.
NBC News international correspondent Janice Mackey-Frayer joins us now from Beijing. Janice, good morning. So first off, from an optics standpoint, we want to talk about the welcome ceremony here because our viewers may remember we brought it live when President Trump was there. Walk us through how President Putin's welcome compared to President Trump. Did anything stand out to you there that might tell us how both men are viewed in China?
Well, Savannah, in terms of staging, China appeared to want to give elaborate welcomes to both leaders, though they are different kinds of partners to Beijing. Vladimir Putin had the red carpet at the airport. He was greeted by Wang Yi. He's China's top diplomat. And at the Great Hall, we saw the same honor guard and same joyful children who welcomed President Trump, but waving Russian flags this time. Overall, the welcome for Putin, though, seemed a bit less theatrical. It lacked the grandeur that Xi had choreographed for President Trump's visit. Putin and Xi are old friends. They've met over 40 times, so there's really little reason for Xi to want to impress him. Plus, the current dynamics of the China-Russia relationship have Putin as the subordinate, still a key strategic partner, whereas the U.S. remains a competitor. But in both cases, with President Trump and Russia's President Putin, Xi Jinping is center stage, both as confident host and the central balancing figure for these important relationships. Joe and Savannah.
Janice, we know the two countries had been in talks over a massive pipeline project that would deliver Russian gas to China. Where do things stand with that? And keeping in mind the Chinese-American summit was short on deals, what more can you tell us about some of the agreements that were signed today?
Power of Siberia 2 is a massive second gas pipeline that Russia desperately wants to build into China. Putin has pushed hard for this because Russia has lost so much of the European gas market over the Ukraine war. But Xi's reluctant to go all in, to not have China too reliant on Russian energy. They announced a general understanding, but no final agreement on cost or timing. And that reveals a bit about the balance of power here. Russia needs China more than China needs Russia. What Xi and Putin did announce was more energy trade. They're going to use more Chinese yuan instead of dollars. And they had a joint statement opposing what they call American dominance. So really, it's the deepening of an already very close relationship. Joe.
Janice, we mentioned that later today it's expected they'll discuss Ukraine, Iran, the U.S. What are we expecting to come of those conversations?
Well, what Xi and Putin want, what binds them, is a world less dominated by the United States. And that was the central message today. Talks focused on the wars in Ukraine and the Middle East. Both are focused on instability in the Middle East because China needs that Gulf oil and Russia benefits from having energy markets staying tight. Xi and Putin called for a, quote, complete cessation of hostilities in the Middle East, and they warned it was unacceptable for fighting to resume. Xi also said that hegemony was running rampant in the world, and that was a veiled swipe at the U.S., even if Xi is courting Trump. But strategically, the summit shows a larger reality, that China is looking more like the senior partner in the relationship, while Russia is becoming more dependent on Beijing, economically, strategically, and for legitimacy. And these back-to-back visits show a real balancing act by Xi Jinping and spotlights China's growing global clout, which has long been China's ambition. Joe and Savannah.
Janice, thank you so much.